Hi, this is Drew Erickson back again talking about money, not math, because I love our country, but I believe we should be in control of our financial future, not the government or the stock market. So I like to have these conversations on various topics in hopes that they provide you enough value to add. I don't know, didn't really say that clearly, but to bring you value to help you with your financial future. All right, hopefully that was clear somewhat. All right, in today's conversation, I am reviewing an article from foxbusiness.com titled How a 403B is Different from a 401k Retirement Plan. All right, so in this article, they talk about there are many, and I just want everyone to be clear. These are just two of the topics, 403B versus 401k, but there are other things that are tax deferred in retirement accounts. But I thought this specific article had some interesting points that I could expand on to hopefully bring you value. All right, so there are many different retirement plans on the market, but as an employee, you're most likely to be offered one of two qualified tax advantage plans offered by employers, a 401k or a 401(k) or a 403b. All right, so I have to stop here first. In my opinion, a plan is not one tool or product or something you do in one day. Financial planning is an ongoing process that we do over our lives, and it's always evolving, it's always updating. We always have to put work into it. It's not something that we just do one time. All right, so I always get a little cringe in my head when I hear 401k plan, because it's not it's a tool. It's a tool that we should be using within our financial plan. It's not the whole plan. All right, if you're completely dependent on your 401k as your retirement plan, we have very little control over how our retirement ends up. The one thing we control is how much money we put in. We have zero control over tax changes that happen due to decisions the government makes. We have very little control over what the market does, because that's completely based on the big movers and shakers in Wall Street, the emotions of the rest of our society, and politics, right? How much control do you have over those things outside of who you vote for? So by putting all of our money in 401ks or 403bs, we're pretty much giving away our control of our financial future outside of the one thing you decide is how much you put in. All right, so it's a tool. 401ks can be a great tool, but in my opinion, they're not a plan. All right, so now that I've kind of explained that, you probably won't be the last time you ever hear me say that if you do follow my conversations regularly. But for the most part, these tools function very similarly. For example, they have the same tax rate for early distributions, and what they mean there is that if you have your money in traditional 401ks or 403bs, when you pull the money out, you have to pay your income tax rate at that time on those dollars. And if you pull the money out before you're 59 and a half, you have to pay a 10% tax penalty outside of extenuating circumstances like right now with COVID-19. But we're not going to get into that right now. If you have questions, you can let me know. You have to pay a 10% tax penalty. So really, the government has control on your money, not you. It's locked up, right? So those two things are similar, as well as the same beneficiary rules, meaning whoever you list as your beneficiary when you sign up is the person who gets your money if you pass away unexpectedly or before you retire. However, there are a few key differences between them. With that in mind, below, they say below, you can't see below, but let's talk about those differences. Eligibility. While 401k tools or plans are offered by for-profit companies like Fortune 500 companies, businesses that are in business to make money, 403bs are offered by tax-exempt organizations like schools, ministries, nonprofits, and hospitals. Regulation. By and large, 403bs tend to be subject to less regulatory oversight than 401ks. 401ks are subject to the regulation outlined in the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, ERISA, and overseen by the U.S. Labor Department. 403bs are mostly exempt from these regulations, provided that the employer does not make contributions to employee 403b accounts. If that happens, the accounts begin to be considered employer-sponsored and then become the subject to the same ERISA guidelines and reporting requirements as 401ks. Investment options. In general, 401ks offer some investment options that offer more investment options than 403bs. It's not uncommon to see 401ks that offer a selection of stocks, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, and money market funds. With the passage of the Setting Every Community Up for the Retirement Enhancement Act in 2019, employees have also begun to see more annuities begin offered as part of their plans. For their part, 403Bs are made up mostly of mutual funds as well as fixed and variable annuities. Contribution limits. In 2020, both plans offered the same basic annual contribution limit of $19,500, as well as a catch-up option that offers anyone over the age of 50 the opportunity to make an additional contribution of $6,500 per year. 403Bs also offered a second type of catch-up contribution. They allow anyone who has worked for their employer for over 15 years to contribute an additional $3,000 per year, up to a lifetime maximum of $15,000. All right, so I want to take a pause here from the article. I think this is so interesting, and it inspired me to do a little. I'm going to do a little example of how the people who make these policies don't actually understand how money works. All right, I appreciate they're trying to help. I truly hope and believe they're trying to do what's best. But if we look at the numbers, why on earth does it make sense for them to allow us to contribute more later than we can early? When we all know that the rules of compounding over time says the earlier you put money on the compounding curve to grow, the more opportunity it has to grow. All right, so to exaggerate on this point, or to show this point, I'm going to use myself as an example. All right, I'm currently 27 years old. So, oh, I got to share my screen. All right, hopefully you can see my screen. All right, I'm currently 27 years old. So if I save $19,500 until I'm 60 or 50 years old, right, because that's when I can do my catch up, that would mean I would be saving for 33 years. No, 23 years, right? Yeah, 23 years. Hopefully my math's not wrong. That'd be embarrassing. If I'm just getting a consistent real rate of return of 5% every year consistently, right? Not average, consistent. 5% every year. At the age of 50, I'm going to have $848,288.98. All right. So we can just $848,288.98. That's at age 50. We plug that number up to current principal, assuming we jump forward. And now they say I can put another $6,500 in. Well, so that would get me up to, I believe, $26,000. Again, I'm doing my math right. Hopefully I am. So let's say from age 50 to 67, so 17 years, because that's my full retirement age, as long as they don't keep pushing that out for Social Security. Let's say I save $26,000. We calculate. All right, so with that math, I should be at about $2.6 million. All right. So 2.6. So we saved $19,500 per year for 23 years. And that got us to $848,000. And then we saved $26,000 per year for 17 years, getting us to about 2.6 million. I'm just going to round these numbers because they don't have to be exact for the example. And I have not done this yet, so I don't know what the numbers come out with. What if Congress allowed us to save the $26,000 per year for the first 17 years of our lives? Then we had to drop savings to $19,500 per year for the remaining 23. Now I understand not everyone's my age, but I had to use something as an example. All right, let's see what the math says. Well, let's zero this out, zero this out, zero. Oh, so we'll go like this. 26,000 for 17 years at 5% rate of return. All right, we're gonna have $705,000. So at $26,000 per year saved for 17 years, we're going to have about $705,000. I'll round it since I was rounding above. Keep in mind, all of this assumes 5% rate of return each year, consistently, not average. It's a very large difference. All right. Then we're going to go $19,500 per year for 23 years after that. See what that number is. So we'll take this number, put it up here for our starting amount. We're going to fast forward. Now we're going to go down to 19,500 for 23 years. Calculate. Now we have $3 million. That is equal to $3 million. All right. I'm going to make this bigger just in case so everyone can see it. That's what we did. The first, and the way the law is set up, if you are me, you just got your first opportunity to save in a 401k. The most you can save is $19,500 per year until you're 50 years old. Then you can do what they call a catch-up of an additional $6,500 per year, getting you up to $26,000 per year for 17 years if I wanted to go to my age 67. We're through it. That would get me, if I got 5% rate of return every year without fail, which we know is not likely in the market, but let's just use it for an assumption, I would have $2.6 million. So why is it that they restrict us from saving more early on, but allow us to save more than we could before once we get older? I honestly don't have a clue. I just know it doesn't make sense. Because as we showed here, if we flip those numbers and we save $26,000 per year for the first 17 years, and then save 19,500 years for the last 23 years, that gets us to $3 million. That's $400,000 more. Or if we divide that out, 400,000 divided by 2.6 million. See if it'll do the math for me. That's 15% more by just flipping it. So that's just one side thing I had to walk through with you, that it just blows my mind that the government has these weird like rules and regulations and overreaches and all this stuff that they think that they have to get their hands on, telling us how we have to save our money and what rules we have to have around saving our money. And they don't even necessarily make sense from a mathematical standpoint. All right, so I just thought that was interesting. Hopefully that brought you value from thinking about that. The number one thing to think about in all that example is the earlier you save and the more you save early, the better off you're going to be. The longer you push out saving, the longer you wait to save money, the longer you spend money on your lifestyle today rather than saving for your lifestyle in retirement, the harder it's going to be to reach your goals. All right, that's the number one thing I want to be clear on, even though I kind of made it more about how the government doesn't make sense with their rules. All right, so coming back, investment options. Oh, we already talked about that. Employer match. All right, most companies that offer a 401k offer an employer match incentive. Usually, this is done by matching your contributions up to a certain percentage of your income. While employers who offer 403b plans have the option to do an employer match incentive, most do not, because if they did, they would be subject to the additional regulation mentioned above. So again, how weird is that? The government says that in both of these accounts, 401ks, traditional 401ks, traditional 403bs, you put your money in, you defer the tax until you pull your money out. But if your employer provides a match, they're now going to more heavily regulate the accounts. So apparently, if you're willing to lock up your money in a 403b, but not get a match, the government has less regulation. So does that mean they care less, or what is that? I just don't get it. Apparently, it's worth locking up your money to defer your tax. I'm not really sure. If you know, please reach out and let me know, because I'm really curious. So can you have both a 401k and a 403b? Though it's rare to see, some employers may offer both a 401k and a 403b option. Alternatively, if you have two jobs, you may be given one option from one employer. In either case, it's possible to contribute to both accounts in order to maximize your retirement savings. Keep in mind, they say that, but really maximizing your retirement savings would be using these tools and saving outside of them, right? For some reason, we've been convinced that the only way to save for retirement are in these accounts where you have to lock up your money until you're 60 and can't access it, right? In my opinion, any savings you do that contributes to you accumulating wealth that will therefore help you live in retirement is retirement savings. It doesn't have to be locked up in accounts where we have zero liquidity, zero use, and zero control over our money. That's just been a big bunch of garbage that has been sold to us for way too long, in my opinion. All right, that said, according to the IRS, no matter how many accounts you have, the limit on how much you can contribute is the same in total for the year. Meaning, in 2020, that limit is $19,500. So if you have both a 401k and a 403b, the most you can contribute is $19,500. It all has to do with your Social Security number and what they call your tax advantaged options. All right. So if you contribute to your traditional 401k, your Roth 401k, your traditional 403b, the max you can contribute is still $19,500. All right. Same with IRAs. You can't double the amount just because you have multiple accounts. If you're over 50, that limit rises to $26,000, which again we already talked about. Doesn't really make sense. However, if you've worked with your 403b employer for 15 years, you are allowed to invest the extra $3,000 in that account. Again, why wouldn't they incentivize you to save more earlier? Why wait 15 years to say, okay, now you can save more? I just don't understand. Which is better for retirement, 401k or 403b? Ultimately, depending on which type of plan your employer offers, you may not have a choice between the two. If you do, it's important to look at the investment options that are available to you, as well as any incentives like employer match and any costs and fees before making your final decision. It's only by looking at the full picture of what each plan has to offer that you'll be able to decide which one is better fit for you. All right, so hopefully this conversation was valuable for you in reviewing this article. In collecting my thoughts, I believe the most important points to get out of this are one, if you believe what I believe, it's our responsibility to take control of our financial future, not allow others to control it for us, meaning the government and stock market as a whole. Use the tools they provide for us as tools, but don't be completely dependent on them for your plan. Two, be aware that there's a big difference between tax deferred and tax advantaged accounts and how those all work. And also be aware that the fees that you pay within your accounts, I think we touched on that. If I didn't, I forgot to talk about it. The fees you pay within your accounts can have a huge impact on your growth potential of those accounts and how much value you actually get out of them. All right, so thank you again for joining me in today's Money Not Math conversation. I always appreciate it when people are willing to not only take the time out of your busy days to listen and interact with me with these conversations, but I ask you if you have found value, please click like, or better yet, message me directly or comment on my posts or share with a friend. My intent is always to provide value, but it's really hard to tell how much value I'm providing if people aren't willing to like, comment, or share my posts. So I would really appreciate that if you're willing to take the time to do that after you're listening to this conversation or watching the video. Thanks again for your time. I hope I brought you value today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.